Today's AskReddit post. What's the most fucked up thing that you have ever done? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I worked at a super shady telemarketing company right after high school. They made people think they were a charity but they weren't. They sold stuff supposedly assembled by handicapped people, and I talked in a voice that led people to believe I was mentally handicapped so they would feel bad and buy from me. I've never hated myself more and I deserve to have my ass kicked. LOL, that's a bit like the guy from Office Space selling magazine subscriptions. My boy Vikram. Wrong show. I shat in the school's toilet. There was no paper, so I wobbled to the sink to clean up. Nobody came in. I was a lucky guy. BRUH. There's no other way to react to this. My friend once used his sock. I don't understand. And I don't want you to explain. Pissed myself at a friend's house, then his parents had to replace the carpet. Edit. All these I peed myself 2 stories do make me feel better. Thank guys, aha. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Cheers for the award too. LOL. How old were you? Gonna say 16. Yeah, it was embarrassing. I held too long to do my turn on a board game we were playing. Thought I could make it. It streams out of your trouser leg. Especially if you're a guy. 16. Username checks out. I'm 32 now. P. When I was a kid, a friend of mine came over for pizza and left. I was upset that he didn't stay to hang out. Heard something at my window and it was him getting my attention, asking if he could have the leftover marinara sauce. I said sure. Slightly opened the little marinara container and tossed it to him. He had on a brand new Tommy Hilfiger winter jacket. I had a friend who used to dine and dash all the time. He once made my mom come pick him up from his house. 20-minute drive. Bring him back to ours. Eat dinner, and the second he finished dinner his ride pulled up and he left. He wouldn't even clean up his plate or anything. Just ate and left. My mom was livid with him. So after that, when he came over again and tried to pull that same thing, and my mom said, I'm not feeding you. If you're hungry you can leave and go get your own food. I'm not cooking for you. And he got all mad and called my mom rude for not giving him food, and she snapped and said no. Rude is making someone pick you up, eat their food and leave the second you're done. I am not a restaurant. Your mom is a badass. Yeah, she's pretty ruthless. How did he respond? Silk underwear was a thing way back. I shat myself once while on a sled with my brother. I somehow managed to unzip and bury it while crying in anger and frustration. Mum found it while walking the dog. I cried again. I shat myself once trying to force out a fart whilst hanging upside down on the monkey bars. I must have been around 9. Anyway, I got them off and put them in the hollow of a tree trunk and put dried leaves on top of it. Man, I shat myself when I was 9 and hid my knickers behind a piano. Years later my dad sold it. I hope they had completely rotted away, but it seems unlikely. Your dad probably noticed and took them out but didn't say anything. Otherwise the piano would smell unimaginably foul. Plot twist. The dad sold the piano because of the smell. I stole some Mother Teresa cards from our church and convinced my little cousin to go with me door to door selling them, saying we were trying to raise money for the less fortunate. We then used that money to go buy snacks at 7-Eleven. I was 12 and to this day I randomly wake up wondering WTF was I thinking. Doesn't sound like it's the most ducked up thing ever, but it did stick with me. Edit. I didn't mean for this to turn into what it did. I saw a post and thought I'd share this stupid crummy memory. I wasn't trying to start this debate or shit. I was just sharing a memory with you all, but like always, Reddit does what Reddit does best. Well, it's okay cause Mother Teresa actually funneled money away from the needy and directly into the hands of the church. She was the original clickbait. Source. My first year of college, there was a really annoying guy in my class. He was a total douche. One day he left class and my buddy and I saw that he left his book on the desk. We took it, sold it to the bookstore and got burgers with the money. I helped him look for his lost book the next day for an hour. Goddamn. You are the myth I've heard about of someone who would steal your wallet and then help you look for it. I'm my parts we call those cracktivities. Mostly because it's shit crackheads do. Not calling you a crackhead. The story just made me think of that urban legend. My dad stole my mom's wallet at a public pool in the early 50s. He did so he had an excuse to meet her. He told her he found it the next day. Pops was smooth lol. It isn't the most ducked up thing, but the thing that makes me feel bad all the time. Years ago I took my mom's very nice stapler to work and left it there when I quit. I use a stapler multiple times a day and I feel so bad whenever I do. Mayo. Just buy her a new stapler. Release the guilt. But it's not the same. It could be even better. Love a new stapler. A couple of friends of mine had a sleepover at my house one time and we got a really dumb idea. Hey, what if we take some deodorant and ketchup and draw human outlines with giant dongs on people's driveways in my neighborhood and in ketchup write the words "get out" next to it? So yeah, that's what we did. Anyways, the cops show up next morning and boy was I glad to think ahead and draw one on my own family's driveway to make us look like victims. Never got caught thankfully, but looking back adding "get out" was drove that over the edge and now I realize how ducked up the whole thing was. That's why I always get a big lowercase t for tolerance made out of wood and light it on fire. Really creates a sense of community, but you don't want to tame it too much. You can still give a good scare by dressing as a ghost. This town is haunted. Broke my own arm on purpose and accidentally scheduled my surgery on Mother's Day. Oh boy, here we go again. I see you're a man of culture as well. Reddit ain't the same anymore. Oh no, step arm. What are you doing? A long time ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth and you could make prank phone calls, my friends and I called a random number. A woman answered and in a small child's voice I asked her if she knew where my parents were. I must have gone on for at least 5 minutes, asking for my parents. Got all upset. The whole 9 yards. At the end I said I had to go and hung up on her. To this day that poor woman has no idea what happened to that little girl. Jesus. Why does literally no one know how to prank call? Why do prank calls always seem to be seriously psychotic and hurtful? When I was a kid I brought a caterpillar to show and tell and I kept forgetting to bring it leaves to eat so I accidentally ducking starved it to death and I still deal with the guilt. You have felt the guilt long enough. You are forgiven. Let this random internet stranger release you from this bond. Oh do me next. When I was in 9th grade I accidentally flipped off a soccer coach and a group of 7th graders because I was taking a selfie with a friend and I was dumb and I think about it like twice a week. You are forgive friend. To show it, take this award. When I was about 15, the family cat got outside. No big deal. He was an inside and outside cat. He always came back. Later that night a huge snowstorm rolled in. We were worried sick that he hadn't come back yet. We feared the worst. At around 12:01 am I heard some crying and scratches at the door. I thought it might have been him, but I never got out of bed to check. I assumed someone else would hear and go get him. The next morning we found him frozen on the back porch. If I had just gone to check, he might have been okay. This still haunts me to this very day. He was a good cat. He didn't deserve to go like that. I was 3 or 4 years old. Went to amusement park with family. Got into ball pit. Having a good time. Then, in the ball pit with me, I notice there's a kid with some kind of disability or illness. Completely bald, with tubes coming out of his nose. I screamed, cried, and called him a monster and pointed until my parents came and got me out of the ball pit. I probably ruined some Make-A-Wish kids' whole day. My friend and I played Poo Dollar one Saturday evening on campus in college. Now the traditional way of playing Poo Dollar is to simply put a piece of poo and smush it into a crumbled up dollar bill. And when someone finds it in excitement, they get poo on their hands. It's evil already by itself. However, a third wanted to join in on the fun. And he's a huge Star Wars fan. He had a huge wad of fake $10 dollar bills with Jar Jar Binks' face on it. He won them as a kid at Chuck E. Cheese. He said each bill was 5 tickets each, and bought a wad with the 100 tickets he won. He told himself as a kid that these would come in handy one day. Now mind you, these looked identical to a $10 bill, except substitute good ol' Alex Hamilton for Jar Jar ducking Binks. So this means that people would pick up this seemingly fake $10 bill in excitement, find poo on their hands, but find consolation in that it's still a $10 bill. But nope. We even took the consolation away. It was a fake Jar Jar Binks $10 bill and you have poo on your hands. I don't even know what to say to that. Good job. Put my hand over my bro's mouth and nose while he slept. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like 7. Is he alive? How alive would you describe a vegetable? Yes. We had a marathon race the entire school. I was in second place most of the race and the guy in front of me would have won no doubt. Instead I told him it would be a good idea if we both ran across the finish line together. He agreed. Only for me to run ahead just a few meters before the finish line. I won, but in the most shitty way ever. It was a good lesson though. If I can't win properly, I'd much rather come second. How many marathons have you ran since you learned this lesson? I'm curious if it ever came to be of any use. I told my mum she should have aborted me. I meant it too. But maybe I could have kept it to myself. My mom tried to make me mad at my dad for saying what are we going to do when she told him she was pregnant with me. I guess trying to imply he wanted to abort. I straight up told her, you could have. I wouldn't have known the difference. Same. When I learned that my parents thought about aborting me, my reaction was well, they didn't. A teenager friend of my brother was pregnant and she had a miscarriage. My mother told it to me and I said, well, that's good. I mean, she won't have to take care of the kid. Just spitting facts. I ducked a stool. Damn. Anvils these days are so advanced. We are a people too. Our anvil porn. Smiles. I told my sister not to get excited when she was pregnant because the baby might die. LOL. Whoa. I had a gay friend that I knew before I started working with him. He had worked there for a few years. I didn't know he had told them he was married. I accidentally outed him. I mean that he was gay. I mean, that's kind of his fault. If he's gonna lie, best tell you about it so you don't mess it up for him. I care, but I still felt horrible. He quit a few days later. Before I was on my meds, I went quite culty, like sitting in a pentagram of candles, cutting myself, offering blood to dark deities and chanting their names, kind of culty. Literally almost performed human sacrifice with myself as the sacrifice. It's still something of a trigger for me in a different sense of the word. I am a non-believer, but during episodes I felt like magic was real as well as deities. So if I find myself thinking I should go and chant to the moon, it's usually a sign that I am doing worse than I may have realized and should go easy on myself. You should be very proud of yourself that you can identify those thoughts as a sign of an issue and take measures to help yourself. A lot of people can't do that, but you can. And that's great. Thank you. I have to add to it, it's actually quite a rare thing to be intelligent enough, not to mention aware enough, to recognize your own illogical thought processes is pretty impressive. It's not something I've seen very often. Why are so many of these posts about poop? I just said the same thing to my BF. It's all poop. Always has been. Woman astronaut, water pistol, man astronaut. Had one of those homemade stress balls with flour at a friend's house and I squeezed it way too hard and it burst everywhere, so I just dipped and he got grounded for a week and made to clean up the mess. I threw up in the middle of Debenhams and proceeded to cry while a kind old woman and 2 workers cleaned it up. In kindergarten, whenever I ran out of toilet paper in the stalls, I would start wiping my ass with my finger and smearing the shit on the walls. I also would barely wash my hands. I got found out and was scolded by my teacher, the janitors, and the principal. My parents, however, still don't know. Jesus, there's so many OTP stories on here. Had a beef B&Q in front of a ton of cows. It was good though. When I was a kid we had a tropical fish tank in the dining room, in front of which we sometimes eat fish and chips. I always felt it was a bit unsporting. Fish eat each other all the time. My goldfish ate each other's fins until we separated them, and they had an 8-gallon tank, so they were probably just jealous. I banned a guy from my Discord server because he was outed as a pedo. Even drew a picture of a cute cat saying "fuck pedophiles" in the announcement. 2 days later he bought a gun and shot himself in the head. His suicide note was in the form of angry texts to his ex-victim. He blamed her and then he blamed me for ruining his reputation, his life. I'm partially responsible for his suicide, and I don't regret it at all. Fuck pedophiles. It ain't your fault. He was a pedo and he deserved to be labeled a pedo. Thanks man. It took over a year for me to accept that. I was only 16 when it happened, but I've made peace with it. I'm just glad he didn't target me. I'm currently 14 and I have a friend, same age, who turned out to be a pedo. He apparently grabbed a 9-year-old's ass at 6 AM in the morning. His parents and her parents got into an argument apparently, and he came over to me and my 2 friends begging me and them to be his friends again. We would accept his apology and stuff and give him another chance. And this went on for 1-2 years. We did not accept and got into an argument, and we stopped the friendship between us. I could not get over it for a while and kept defending him, even though the evidence was against me. In the end, I got over it, which was sad because he was the first friend I made when I moved. I got a $20 donation for my high school cross-country team, but I lost my phone, so I used the money to pay for that instead of giving it to the team. Hold up, what kind of phone costs $20 in 2020? No, it cost $200. I just used that as part of the payment. I'm a paramedic. There's nothing heavier than carrying a dead 1-year-old in your arms. God bless you. Sending love and lifetime hugs. Stole someone's gal. Life evened it out later. Someone take your girl later on? Yup, until someone did that, I was losing interest. And then life was ugly and beautiful all at once. Pissed in a classmate's backpack. I was 6. Don't bully me PLS. Bullying noises. When I was a kid we had a sandbox and a swing set with 3 swings. The sandbox had become a latrine for our 5 cats. When the 2 neighbor kids came over to play with me and my sister, that meant that we were 1 swing short. I forget who did it first, but someone who was tired of waiting for a turn on the swings took a leaf and used it to pick up a cat turd out of the sandbox. They threw it at one of the kids on one of the swings and hit them with it. The infuriated swinger leapt off the swing and chased the turd thrower all over our large yard. The thrower managed to evade the swinger, returned to the swing set, and claimed the empty swing. We all looked at each other and realized that the greatest game ever had just been invented. We played shit fight relentlessly for days, removing all of the cat droppings from sandbox. This shortage of shit led to preemptive claiming of potential shit deposits from the various cats by name. Eventually someone defied the protocols on the fecal option process, leading to the need for outside arbitration. It went like this. Mrs. Pete 1729. I claimed dibs on Fluffy's shit but Dale took it. My mom, once fully informed of the game and its rules, put an immediate stop to shit fight in a very emphatic way. The second, but not the last, time I broke up with this girl. She was crying and I told her she looked pathetic. Yeah, I have some issues with my own emotions. Have learned a lot since and very much regret many things. Every now and then when I see confessions like this, I wonder how many of my exes and former bullies are out there realizing something similar. I am glad you've grown from the experience. Told my father he never meant anything to me. I've done the same thing. He got a little sad but I knew he hadn't bought it. I hope your dad didn't take it seriously either. People say nonsense sometimes. These are light. Y'all are liars. They're all ducked up things goofy middle schoolers do. I haven't read them all, but I haven't seen a single one where someone ended up dead or raped. Then again, I'm 40. I've got some shit I wouldn't dare say on Reddit. Yeah, I'm so ashamed of the worst thing I ever did that I would never tell anyone, even with the anonymity of the internet. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.